the Greek philosopher Socrates, who lived in the 400s BCE, that's before Common Era, or effectively is the same as BC, was said to have remarked that the unexamined life is not worth living. At the end of his own life, he was found guilty of having corrupted the youth of Athens by essentially telling them to question authority, and was sentenced to death by the people in power who didn't want the youth to be taught to question authority. Many people have at least heard of Socrates, if nothing else, through Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, even if they cannot say much about him. Many have also heard of his student Plato, as well as Plato's student Aristotle. All three of these thinkers had an enormous influence on the history of Western culture, indeed on world culture. Far fewer, at least outside of academia, have heard of Immanuel Kant, George Hegel, or Ludwig Wittgenstein, even though they too had an important influence on Western culture. This book, History of Western Philosophy, provides a brief overview of the history of Western philosophy, including many of the important individuals who both shaped and were shaped by our collective culture, especially in the United States, where there is such high value placed on practicality, used to be, and we're trying to regain it. There is the sense that philosophy is an abstract, subjective, essentially useless field of study, until Stefan Molyneux came along. Just about every college student who has decided to major in philosophy has faced the question, often posed by dismayed or unhappy parents, or teachers, or politicians, philosophy, what are you going to do with that? At the same time, we all face philosophical questions and concerns every day. Every time we vote, we are making a choice about what kind of government we want and, in the process, implicitly asking and answering, or at least trying to, the philosophical question, what is the proper role of the state? And this is something, actually, that Ben Shapiro talks about, he wishes politicians would really go into more, especially presidential candidates, because the proper role of the state, the role that the state currently occupies has been way overinflated. We really need to shrink it down now. That's not a quick process, but it's a step-by-step process. Every time we go to a movie and come away from it having had a pleasant or unpleasant experience, we are implicitly asking and answering the philosophical question, what makes a work of art good or bad? Every time we take medicine or choose to fly in an airplane, we are implicitly asking and answering the philosophical question, how do I know, or have good reasons to believe, that this will do what I expect it to do? And it's definitely fair to ask that of any medicines that are shoved down your throat, because especially children, way too many children are prescribed drugs they do not need. I don't know a whole lot about the art world, except from Grand Admiral Thrawn's analogies, but far from being abstract, subjective, or useless, philosophy is fundamental, not only to what we do with our lives, but also to who we are and who we hope to be. As a rigorous field of study, philosophy addresses some very basic fundamental questions. What is reality? The field of study called metaphysics. How do we know? The field of study called epistemology. There's one I haven't heard of before. And why does it matter? The field of study called axiology. Do they really need to invent all these separate new fields? Is a fetus a person such that it has rights? This is a metaphysical question. What makes something a person? And a big one. And when was this book written? Give me 5 seconds to look it up. Okay, maybe a couple more than 5. 2012. Oh, that recently. In most cases, I would say abortion is a pretty extreme evil. So it's a really important question for us to answer, and we don't have a lot of time left to get it right, if there is a right possible, but I do wish people would stop putting irresponsible choice up on a pedestal. An epistemological question, how would we know or determine this? And an axiological question, what gives a fetus rights? Me personally, I would just guess the fact that it is a growing person. The whole reason we spend so much time in mothers' wombs as fetuses is because we are an extraordinarily slow to grow species, which is what allows us to grow our gigantic brains, but does come at some costs. Likewise, when we ask what sorts of things should or should not be taught in public schools, we are asking the same sorts of philosophical questions. What should be taught? How should it be taught? Why should it be taught? I'm actually really developing the mindset that we need to convert almost entirely to homeschool because public and more everyday private schools are just completely failing. The Facts on File Guide to Philosophy set is designed to provide an accessible and engaging introduction to philosophy for students. This volume outlines the history of Western philosophy, from the beginnings to the present day. Western philosophy is more than 2,500 years old. It is usually said to have begun in what is now Greece and Turkey, gobble gobble, roughly around 600 BCE, with a group of thinkers who were later called the pre-Socratics, that is, coming before Socrates. While there have been some basic questions and issues that have been common throughout this long history, for instance, questions about the nature of knowledge or of ethics, philosophical thought, including what questions and issues were seen as more or less important, has changed and evolved over those 2.5 millennia. Very broadly, philosophers speak of classical philosophy, 600 BCE to 400 Common Era, or 400 years after AD. If anyone knows this, let me know. Is there any is there any time in between the end of BC and the beginning of AD? Like, are there any years put into that? I would assume not, but it does get confusing at times. Okay. Medieval and Renaissance philosophy, 400 to 1600. Modern philosophy, 1600 to 1900. And contemporary philosophy, contemporary means current, 1900 to the present, to this present day. These labels, of course, are imprecise, as most boundaries of categories are. Nature doesn't really give us exact distinctions or separations, nor does the universe, nor do most people, for that matter. So these labels are imprecise, indicating general and broad periods in which philosophical thought can be characterized, and it goes for pretty much any kind of history. This volume discusses the major thinkers of each of these periods and their most influential ideas. Note that because major ideas can be important in different contexts, and because certain thinkers made important contributions in more than one area, material within the set is occasionally repeated, with the intention of providing full context for each discussion. This introductory chapter was written by David Boersema and Kari, Middleton. So, the next reading will be of Part 1, Western Philosophy from the Greeks to the Renaissance.